Okay, how's it going? I recently watched Hacksaw Rindge, it's a pretty interesting movie. Very, very violent. This is one of the most violent movies I've ever seen. But I don't know if you call it in an artistic way or a meaningful way, but I appreciated it. Mel Gibson he's an interesting director. He hasn't made that much. I think Braveheart, The Passion of the Christ, Apocalypto, and now this. Maybe there's something else as well. But that's pretty much it. And most of these movies I do like. Passion of the Christ, not so much. Because I just think, why would you just focus on that? I'm sure many people have said this before, but like Jesus, the whole point is to look at the rest of his life, not the part where he just got killed. Like that's the part, common sense would say that you show his life and then you cut to that part and you just then that's where you cut away and you say, people know what happened. We don't need to see that. We can imagine it. It's disturbing enough. And to have a whole movie that's just that part is like, it's weird. It's weird. It's like, it makes Mel Gibson seem like a sadomasochist or something. Like he's got issues. But anyway, the violence in this movie is very intense and feels realistic. Although I mean, I haven't been in war, and I guess that's the thing. Different people in war probably have different experiences, but it's probably like that, and it's horrifying, absolutely horrifying. Anyway, the story is interesting though. I think it's well made, and it's a good movie, but it just seems like I hate movies and things where it seems like there were easier paths. And in this case, it seems like because guns come up, and I get the idea. You don't want to kill people, right? I don't want to kill people either. But if they're gonna attack me, if they're shooting at me with a gun, well, then maybe I wouldn't mind having a gun so I can shoot them first before I get killed. It's the initiation of violence which I see as immoral. But defending yourself when someone's trying to kill you, I think that's fair enough. And not just yourself, but other people that matter to you. I mean, that's the thing. I think a lot of people want to own a gun to protect their family. And a lot of other people seem to have this idea that simply owning a gun makes you liable to, first off, you'll get angry and shoot someone, or you'll have an accident. Which doesn't make sense because, like, if you think most families, for example, usually the man, if it's a traditional family, the man is going to be the strongest. If he doesn't even need a weapon and he can kill, like, it's not hard to kill. You can kill children. You can kill a woman. You don't need a weapon. So the idea that a gun suddenly changes things, that suddenly people will just get angry. If anger was enough to kill people, people could kill other people all the time. But anyway, so the idea that a gun changes that. Anyway, that's a whole different topic. But the point in this movie is that he could have just said, yeah, teach me how to use a gun, but I'm not going to want to kill many people. Fine. But you can still have a gun just in case like someone's shooting at you or shooting at someone else, you can save their life. Not having a gun means you're incapacitated, means you're more vulnerable. And that's the thing, I think the real life story is interesting. I don't know the details, but I just think it's fundamentally, logically, it would have been wiser for him to have just learned how to use a gun and to carry a gun. He could have just never used it, and then maybe just once or twice used it. It's a miracle that he didn't get killed. It is a miracle. I'm using that in a loose term. I don't mean it's a religious, phenomenon that occurred. The acting is very good. I think Andrew Garfield's good. Hugo Weaving is really good. I forget, is it Rachel Griffiths or something? The lady that he's in love with. A lot of the acting's good. Vince Vaughn, it's kind of cool seeing him in something that's not a comedy, really. I liked it. It didn't seem to go through just the cliches of military movies and the training. It's always the guy in charge is always a jerk to them. I never get it, and there's always some of them that act like idiots. But I guess that's probably accurate. That's probably realistic. But at least you feel like you get some camaraderie with them, and the issues seem legitimate. But that's the thing. For most of it, I sided with the military. I was like, this guy needs to just learn how to use a gun. Why is he being so difficult? Like what, And I get it. You don't want to kill people, but this is where you're fighting for freedom. You're fighting for your country. Other people are going to be trying to kill you. You see, the Japanese in this movie are depicted as ferocious, Not good or evil. I think the greater context is that America was fighting for good. Japan attacked China, invaded China, and attacked Pearl Harbor. They didn't have to do that, but yeah, individuals, they're just fierce fighters. Are you going to fight for America and America's values? Yes or no? You might need a gun. I think Anyway, I liked how it showed the some of the darker things that happened, which I think are realistic. Like, because there were cases where the Japanese would surrender, Americans would take them in, and then one or two Japanese would release a grenade and kill themselves and take a few Americans with them, or something like that. That happened a few times, and I think once that happened, then the Americans would just, after that, the Japanese would surrender and they would shoot them down. And that's the thing. It's an interesting case. If you only saw that later behavior, if because you could tell them that there were cases where the Japanese surrendered and the Americans just shot all of them dead, and you might be like, oh my God, that's awful. Why were the Americans so evil? That makes me feel sick. But with the context being that before that, they tried to take prisoners and the Japanese had sacrificed themselves. Like, that's different. That changes things. And it was the Japanese that did that. The actions of the Japanese, I think their priorities were interesting because they put, I think, maybe honor and their name, their reputation above human life. So they, if they would fight to the last man, literally, in many cases, and they would commit seppuku or harakiri or whatever. They'd kill themselves rather than surrendering in a lot of cases. And that's the thing. That's not a set of values that puts human life at the top. It puts other things ahead of that. So in a way, I find that impressive that they have such strong principles, but I don't really like those values. I don't agree. And in any case, the fact that they had those values is part of why so many Japanese and Americans ended up getting killed, because the battles just dragged on. As part of why I think the atomic bombs were justified, because there were not many alternatives available. When someone is that extreme and that's the only alternative, like, they had the chance to surrender. Not all of Japan, I mean, but the leaders, I guess the military leaders, Emperor Hirohito and whoever else was in a position to make a decision. They could have surrendered, absolutely. It's interesting, I read the trivia, they changed some details, which is not surprising, and that often annoys me. But what's funny is some of the things that happened in real life seemed even too crazy to believe, and that's why Mel Gibson changed them. He was like, people won't believe that if we show that. I forget, let me think. One detail I think was that the guy, is it Desmond Doss or something, was being shot at, or someone kept trying to shoot him and their gun kept jamming at a critical time. And it happened multiple times. That seems like a cliche, Hollywood cliche, but apparently that happened. But I don't think that's in the movie. And I think maybe he also crawled some huge distance at some point to get away from somewhere. But anyway, the movie's pretty amazing as it is. And the point is it gets across certain things. I'm not religious, but I think the way religion, or even, because that's the thing, you don't have to be religious to start praying in a desperate situation. Think, God, please let me get through this. That doesn't mean you're religious, or you can just try to summon that inner strength. Everyone does that, potentially. That's the thing. That's not a uniquely religious thing. But that's what I like about the movie, is that you keep saying, Lord, give me the strength to save one more person, just one more. And that's what drives him. And I don't know how realistic it is. I think in real life it was spread out over more time. The movie depicts it as more taking place over like a day or two, or a matter of hours. But yeah, it's still pretty affecting. Like, just the power of the human spirit, like the bravery, the taking risks, and going out and dragging people. It seems like the gun thing's irrelevant. It just, again, I'm reminded of Batman. Batman has his rule, no guns, no killing. He says that to Catwoman. He knocks out her gun. And she's like, you gotta be kidding me. Where's the fun in that? And I like how she saves him at the end of The Dark Knight Rises and sort of says, that whole thing about guns, I'm not sure I feel as strongly as you do. Because that's the thing. I get, like, yes, guns are dangerous, but the whole idea in many cases of having a gun is in order to deter violence and in order to attack someone if they attack you first, to defend yourself. And that's why it just seems like, because that's the thing, even if I was like, I don't want to ever kill someone. However, I'd be willing to, if I was going to fight in the military, I'd absolutely want a weapon, even if I wanted to be a medic. And that's the other thing, it's like the context is different. These people are potentially threatening your freedom, threatening your country. It's a bit different. You're not just randomly killing some stranger. So yeah, I don't have much else to say. I think it is well directed, and it's good at capturing the emotions of the different situations, and without making too many judgments. Like, it shows some of the really dark things that go on, the ups and downs, the sheer, like, the way the fighting just breaks out many times. It's just all of a sudden people are getting shot, torn to pieces, burned alive, explosions, and also seeing how these men who are otherwise pretty strong and like confident are like terrified, and just like, and you would be absolutely terrified. Like, that stuff scares me like nothing. Like, it's nightmarish. But anyway, it's a very good movie and thought provoking. I just find it funny that, like, oh, he could have just said, yeah, just teach me how to use a gun, and just never shot it. It would have saved so much trouble, and it would have also been like, it could have saved him. Like, you know what I mean? I think your attitude might change. If someone's trying to kill you and you manage to get a gun and shoot them and survive, that's not immoral. That's completely justified. And you know, that's the point. You know, a medic with a gun doesn't mean they're like a homicidal maniac. It just means, hey, it's a practical thing to have when you're in war and people are trying to shoot you and kill you. Anyway, all right, I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Bye.